Chapter 6. On the Lam. Journal entry, Monday, March 24th, 2035, downtown Seattle, 1:20 p.m. I did not fool myself into thinking this would be a solo ride down 54 floors. I took a place in the back corner, hoping to stay as incognito as possible. The juxtaposition of my overwhelming anxiety and the tranquil mood in this stuffy little elevator was quite strange. It was ominously calm in the elevator, and I could hear my heart thumping and feel it pulsating in my neck. I was certain the people getting on would hear it too. I needed to calm down, but that seemed impossible, given my current situation. As I headed down the long list of numbers, the lights blinked, and the doors opened as patrons got on. The lower we got, the more I began to hear rumors of something bad. Stories became increasingly accurate and more terrifying. I felt as though I were being lowered in a cage with strangers, all playing a twisted form of telephone. Only instead of the story becoming more complex and absurd, as it did in the childhood version, the details were syncing up with the truth. Soon they would discover the imposter in their midst. The atmosphere became more and more frantic and fresh with fear. Each new person getting on knew some additional terrifying detail of the incident.
Oh my God, did you guys hear what happened?
A plump Asian woman asked as she got on floor 30.
I heard some lady jumped out her window and committed suicide.
A man commented back.
I heard she was murdered. Apparently her husband was visiting for lunch and threw her out the window.
Another commented. The elevator stopped at floor 26. My anxiety was beginning to boil over the edges of the proverbial pot in my mind. I felt flush and saw sweat beginning to bleed through my shirt. Just like these strangers on the elevator, I didn't know what had happened either. What I did know was that I was involved. Even if indirectly, I would be suspect number one. The elevator stopped once more, and 3 more people got on with varying stories about what had happened. I considered getting off and finding stairs, but my paranoia was now fully engaged. Surely there would be hordes of police and firemen ascending by those means. I knew it was only a matter of time before the media pilfered enough info, like the vultures they were, to make an educated guess as to who had been in Dr. Carrington's office when it happened. Or Nancy would report my name, address, and contact info to the authorities. Maybe she already had. I had given her all of those damning details when I filled out the paperwork. Soon, every person equipped with even the crudest forms of technology of the day would be streaming the news report. My face would soon be on all the major news networks, and my name would top the Google keyword search. At the rate in which information propagated in the year 2035, I doubted I could barely reach the bottom level of this damned elevator before people getting on started to recognize my face. I felt my body slinking lower and lower, and my posture giving way to the weight of the immense stress. Floor 15. Now the elevator was completely full, and we began denying people access. One gentleman, a rather large fellow, pushed his way on anyway, ignoring the hushed anger of others as he did so. The body heat in here alone would have us passing out from heat exhaustion, and if for some reason the elevator stopped working, God help us. What an interesting scene that would be. 15 dead elevator patrons, all standing upright, unable to fall to the floor. The people in here with me were becoming more and more afraid. Fear was etched and stitched in the wrinkles of their concern. Some women and one man were crying, others gossiped with each other with low, mournful voices, while others were completely quiet as they seemed to consider their own mortality. It was clear that it wasn't just that there was an emergency. In everyone's minds, a picture of those twin towers crashing down must have been playing in a loop. Post 9/11, being trapped in an elevator in a high-rise was unquestionably a much more heightened experience. We stopped at every level now, and as the doors opened, terrified employees tried desperately to get on.
No, sorry. You're gonna have to get the next one. We're full, buddy,
said the gentleman who, by default of proximity, had the unfortunate duty of turning these poor souls away.
You'll have to take the stairs.
The stairs?
A petite woman with a French accent shot back.
Are you joking? It's 13 floors to the bottom.
Come on, lady, it's full. Look.
Another man in our elevator remarked. The doors closed, and the last thing we could see from our side was the bitter scowl stamped on her face. This type of interaction would repeat itself the rest of the way down. The truth was, the stairs were probably much faster and less scary than this elevator ride. I wanted nothing more than to escape this wretched elevator, and I closed my eyes. At least I would find respite inside myself. It was a mistake. Though I had not actually seen her fall, flashes of Dr. Carrington's body slamming into the pavement repeatedly played behind my shut eyes. My mind leaped through mental hurdles as I tried to maintain ambiguity in the back of this mass coffin. How was I going to get home? Would I even be able to go home? Where would I go now? My thoughts stretched out before me in a never-ending sequence of terrible conclusions. I needed to get a hold of Kate. I needed to get to my phone, but I had about as much room to maneuver in this elevator as a man in a straitjacket. With much effort, I eventually retrieved my phone from my pants pocket. After nearly pulling my shoulder out of its socket, I was able to check my text messages. I had an unread text message from Kate.
Come to me.
From my peripheral, I noticed a man to my left casually leaning in to see what I was doing on my phone. He was an odd-looking middle-aged man wearing what looked to be an expensive suit. Our eyes met, and immediately he shifted his gaze away.
Do not use your phone. Turn it off and put it away.
This voice of mine was beginning to become quite annoying. But like any good schizoid with schizophrenia, I decided to obey my voice and turn my phone off, returning it to my pocket. Come to me. That was an odd message. Had she heard about what was happening? If so, I would expect a bit more care, urgency, but that was all there was. Come to me, not come home or are you okay? Just come to me. Odd. Just then, I felt a strong nudge against my right arm.
What do you make of this craziness?
A man with a strong Latin accent asked. Instead of fear or anxiety, he wore rather comfortably a look of amusement and excitement, which seemed ill-fitting considering someone had just died. I don't know, I said quietly. I tried to ignore this man and go back to my own internal despair, but the obnoxious man wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, I once saw a man plummet 40 feet to his death off a construction scaffold.
He illustrated this by looking up and slowly looking down, accompanied by a whistle and splat at the end.
Yeah, that's great.
I said, trying desperately to keep to myself.
Yeah, it was quite a mess. It took him a while to figure out who it was. The face was just, well, you know.
He said, while making a face that looked painfully distorted. I closed my eyes once again and put my head down, but the annoying man continued to talk. I kept seeing images of Dr. Carrington falling to her demise. The longer I held my eyes shut, the more vivid they seemed to become. The man would not shut up, falling, screaming, the cracking of bones, the eerie whistling winds. Please, shut up! I yelled at the man. I opened my eyes and looked at the man. The elevator fell silent. Normally I might have apologized, but the look of complete surprise and bewilderment on his face angered me even more. The fact that he could not fathom that he might be annoying another person. He was the kind of person that walks clumsily through life, loud, obnoxious, devoid of self-awareness. I had known many narcissists in my life. It was one of the reasons I had chosen to live my life in such a private manner. To further prove himself worthy of my disdain, he simply sneered at me and began chatting up the person on the other side of him. Had I been rude? Perhaps. Whatever. I was simply happy to be left alone. We finally reached the bottom floor, and the doors opened to a surreal scene. Police and emergency crews were scattered everywhere, and I was just praying they hadn't yet learned who I was, the last person to see her alive. A steady torrent of gossiping secretaries, frustrated lawyers, aggressive insurance brokers, and the typical downtown high-rise employee rushed out, eager to find the exit. Cops and detective-looking men weaved into the elevator through the exiting crowd, some with pensive hands resting on the hips near their guns.
Just stay calm and keep walking and try to blend in,
the voice said. I was wearing a relaxed-fitting pair of jeans, a shirt that sported the Seattle University logo, and a blazer. Everyone else was not.
The woman in front of you, strike up a conversation.
The voice in my head demanded. Do you know what happened? I asked her.
No.
She said, looking me up and down, realizing herself that I didn't fit the office employee criteria. The woman looked to be in her mid-50s, but had no visible wrinkles due to the excessive makeup suffocating her. She wore a pink jacket with a purple blouse and black suit pants. She looked as though she belonged in the past and the future at the same time.
Probably a suicide.
She continued.
Can you believe it? Here?
As I conversed with the woman, I avoided many uniformed officers' gaze and did indeed look less out of place. At some point, I found myself outside. The world came rushing back in. A bitter chill came from not only the piercing March air, but from within myself as I watched an unbelievable scene unfold before me. Already, the police had sectioned off a large area in both directions with tape. Emergency vehicles at the scene were silent, with their lights eerily highlighting the scene with red, blue, and yellow flashes.
Oh my God, what in the...
The woman said and clung to my arm as if we were close friends, and I was her column of strength on which to lean. I welcomed her clutch and continued forward with the congregation of 2 Union Square employees as we filtered out into the chaotic street. I found it almost comforting how quickly people relied on each other for comfort in times of extreme situations. A uniformed officer was funneling all of us down the sidewalk, and as we walked, I saw a large white sheet covering what was obviously the body of Dr. Carrington. Blood ran out from under the stained sheet and found the path of least resistance, eventually trailing into the gutter. My heart sank, and apparently I was not the only one affected. One woman nearly fainted, but was steadied by a man near her. I thought that the police would try to corral us somewhere in order to talk to us and perhaps interview us, but to my surprise and everyone else's, we were all allowed to leave. This seemed rather strange to me, but I suppose I didn't understand that much about the criminal justice system. As it would turn out, I didn't have a grasp on a lot of things.
Okay, good. Keep going,
said the voice in my head. Still there, much to my dismay. There were only 2 options here. Either I truly was going mad, or someone was actually streaming thought in my consciousness, giving me direction. Neither of those options was particularly comforting,